What's up, RestoMods Nation? We are here to break down the build sheet on RM19, our 1971 Challenger. This car is absolutely beautiful and a pretty rare car. I mean, they only made, what, less than 30,000 of these in 71. It's a first gen Challenger. They took a little gap and then they came out with Gen 3 pretty recently, and those are super popular with the Hellcat in them. And it's a popular car now, but at the time, like I said, only sold about 30,000 of them, so you don't see too many of these original first-gen Challengers on the road. And this one is definitely one of a kind. We've got all kinds of modern touches on this thing. What are we running in this car?
Okay, so like you said, this is like probably the most iconic Challenger. Love this body style. Super excited because we've never done a Challenger before. So this one is, of course, resto-modded. So let's just start and jump right into what's under the hood of this thing.
That thing got a Hemi in it?
That thing got a Hemi. So this is a Gen 3 Hemi out of a Ram pickup, which is actually a slightly higher horsepower Hemi than what came in the cars. So you see the unique intake manifold that actually helps with torque. So this thing's 345 horsepower, 375 foot-pounds of torque. Not the highest power level, but it is no slouch. It's perfect in this size of a car. It feels really good. Yeah,
this thing gets up quick. Originally, most of those 30,000 in 71 were V8s, but they were much smaller V8s. I think originally this thing had a 318 in it.
Correct.
And then they did offer the Hemi in 71. That was actually the last year that they offered it. It was like the infamous 70s power down of the muscle cars, right?
Super rare car. I think some of the most valuable muscle cars ever sold are Hemi Cudas, maybe a Hemi Challenger. But yeah, it's super rare to have that original 426 Hemi, but this one's modernized. It's all fuel injected, just runs like a top. This car is really nice to drive with this engine.
Yeah, it's all basically modernized. I mean, you turn the key, the thing is immediately responsive, fires up. I see we also have power brakes. We got four-wheel disc brakes on this car.
Yep.
Obviously AC right up there in front. You can't miss that thing.
Yep.
And a big old radiator to keep everything cool. Basically just all the essentials in here, and it fits really nicely into this engine bay. The Plymouth Cudas, those were similar body styles, but they were a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger?
Very, very close in dimension. We'll actually get into that because this does have a Cuda part on it, so we'll show you that. Very similar car. Hoods were a little different, you know, the fascia and stuff. You look at the side profile of the car, and it's all there. It's all the same. So great looking car.
I also love how they stole the styling from this car for the Gen 3 Challengers.
Yeah.
It's almost identical. I think they snuck a pillar in there.
Yeah.
So it's not technically a hard top. And then these are, what did they refer to these as? E-bodies, I think?
E-bodies. So yeah, you know they got it right the first time when, you know, they're designing modern cars to kind of look like this. So
yeah, absolutely. The looks and the styling of this car are really unique and awesome. I just obviously love that period, and this is a great example. And you can tell it has a Hemi in it because right here.
It says it
right
there.
It's got a Hemi in it. So what is this Hemi connected to actually put power down?
So behind this, we have a Overdrive transmission from Silver Sport Transmissions.
Shout out to Silver Sport Transmissions, best guys in the game.
That's it, man. So this thing cruises down the freeway at the RPM it should. It's got all these unique features with the programming, so you can control kind of the shift firmness you want. Just a really neat upgrade that really ties good with the modern engine. You need a modern trans behind it.
So when we bought this car, it originally had this Hemi in it, but we switched out that transmission thanks to Silver Sport, right? What did we do there?
Yeah, big shout out to Silver Sport. So this car had a 3-speed 727, pretty good, stout, old school transmission, non-overdrive, and it was it had a manual valve body because it didn't have the correct signals from the engine to let it shift. So with the modern overdrive, it's all computer controlled. It works really good behind this engine. You get cruising RPMs, you can adjust your shift firmness, just a lot of advantages from that Silver Sport transmission. So we went ahead and upgraded it, and it's one of the best things as far as drivability on this car.
That's how we do it at RestoMods.com, constantly making upgrades so that we can give these cars to you. What are we running on a wheel tire setup here?
Okay, so we do have these US Mags Ramblers. These are an 18-inch wheel, staggered, so they're a little wider in the back. So we have Nitto Tires on here, 245s in the front, 275s in the back, which helps put that power down a little bit. Behind that, we got our go-to brake setup. It's all Wilwood in the front. Big rotors, 6-piston calipers. We even have disc brakes in the back with drilled and slotted rotors. And then tying that all in together, the suspension is all Hotchkis stuff, so it's all been upgraded. This thing handles really good. The car feels solid and planted. All that Hotchkis stuff is a really nice upgrade. Subframe connectors, so unibody car can always benefit from some subframe connectors to tie the chassis into the body. and just give it that nice compliant feel.
Yeah, the drivability on this car with the modern engine and then all those upgraded suspension parts is great. I mean, you can just hop in this thing and cruise around town. All right, so I know the interior of this car is something that's really special, and big shout out to our friends over at SOS Customs. They went above and beyond on this car. When we first got this car, my least favorite thing, I would say, was the interior. Yep. And now SOS Customs has taken it to my most favorite thing about this car. Let's walk through all the changes they made.
Yeah, they definitely knocked it out of the park. So this car had the original E-body buckets that are kind of oddly shaped. You know, kind of a throwback to that era, but we went ahead and reached out to our partners at Procar by Scat, and they got us these really nice buckets to throw in there. And of course, SOS upholstered it with leather on the inside. They reupholstered the door panels. This dash is even upholstered and stitched. All custom center console, but we retained the slapstick shifter, and that actually works with the Silver Sport Overdrive transmission. They have a kit to adapt all that. Power windows, power mirrors, AC. It's got a bitchin' stereo. Forever sharp steering wheel, so the list goes on and on. Almost everything's been touched in the interior, and it shows. It just feels nice in there.
It feels like a modern car. Like when I jump in, it's got the big touch screen. It's got the controls for the AC. The shifter's a little bit of a throwback, and I think that's still original, right?
Yeah.
With the light up LED underneath that thing.
Yep. That just traditional Mopar slapstick. We kept that, and it ties in with the Overdrive trans, so it's great.
And I love how they use our colors black with the red stitching. It really makes it pop. That red just kind of jumps out. And then again, once you get in there, super comfortable ride. All of those suspension parts are all working together with that modern engine just to make for really, fun drivability. You don't have too many worries. You just jump in this thing, Bluetooth your phone, and hit the road. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Let's round it out in the back here.
Fire those taillights. Oh yeah, look at those. So this looks like a classic 71 Challenger rear end, but what is it really?
So it's definitely been upgraded and modernized. So this has a little bit of everything from Mopar. So starting at the top, this spoiler is actually a CUDA spoiler. That is the one thing we use from Akuda on the car. I just really liked how they fit the body lines of this car. We made a few modifications to fit it, but it ties in really well. And then the big obvious thing is the modern taillights. These are from a modern Challenger. So you get the LED lighting, you get a real cool sequential turn signal thing, and it just ties in with the car. I think it looks really cool.
It looks fantastic. It almost just matches perfectly the red stitching on the interior. This is almost just like red trim on this all black package, and I think it just looks incredible.
Yeah.
And then 71 was the year they split the tail lights and split the front grille, right?
Right. Yeah, so it all kind of ties in. A keen eye will notice these tail lights are actually flipped upside down to fit the body, but they really look good on this car.
So just looking at this car from an overall perspective, it's just a really iconic shape. And when you think of classic American muscle, this is kind of the shape that pops into my head. And it follows a lot of the same cars that are of the same period. I love the color combo we did on this car. I say combo, it's literally just black and flat black. But when we got it, it kind of had a little two-tone thing going on. What did we do to the body and paint?
So when we got the car, it was two-toned. It was silver on top with a break in the body line. And it didn't look terrible, but it just didn't accentuate the really good body lines of this car. So we went with the tried and true all black. Shout out to SV Body and Paint. Those guys knocked it out of the park with a killer black paint job on this car. Even paint matching the bumpers and some of the mirrors, some of the trim, just to get some contrast between flat black and gloss black. But it gives the car kind of a sinister look. And it just makes this body line look killer. You can't go
I think
wrong.
it looks incredible. And black is a really hard color, right? I mean, you see all the flaws in a body when you paint something black. So those guys did a great job, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Like I said, that flat black spoiler gives it just a little bit of an accent back there. And I like how we did some of the things, like we left the trim chrome here. There's little touches of chrome on the wheel lip, little things like that.
Yeah.
On the, what are supposed to be the air gaps in the hood.
Yeah, it's real easy to just murder out a car with everything all blacked out. And we wanted to kind of highlight some of the classicness of this car. So we left some silver trim. So we kind of tied it all together so that the car is still classic, but modernized.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing looks fantastic. Let's check out the underside.
Let's do it. Okay, there's some cool features under this car too, so we're gonna do a brief walkthrough and point out some of the really cool features that really help upgrade this car. Starting here with just the fuel tank. This is an aftermarket Tanks Inc. tank with an in-tank pump. So that supplies the fuel injection. In-tank pump's a good way to go, so we upgraded that. You can kind of see this is a good old Mopar 8 3/4 rear end with a posi. This has dual exhaust, MagnaFlow mufflers, all stainless exhaust. These leaf springs are upgraded, some nice brand new shocks. You can see the disc brake rear end, and importantly is this sway bar. This really helps with the feel of the car when you're out on the road. And working our way forward, you can see the subframe connectors. These are from Hotchkis. Really nice feature. It ties in the front and the back of the subframes of this car, so that helps strengthen up the chassis. Up here we have an X-pipe, just kind of helps with flow. This is the Overdrive transmission. So from Silver Sport, they send a brand new cross member. They even include the drive shaft, so brand new drive shaft on this unit. And moving our way up, we got a Mile-It-In pan to fit the stock K member for the Gen 3 Hemi, mini starter. And then kind of what really helps with this car is this Hotchkis front suspension setup. So it has these outer tie rod ends with Heim joints, so you get the real solid steering feel. And a big sway bar. You can see right away this sway bar is a lot bigger than stock, so that helps. This also has Hotchkis tubular upper arms. These aftermarket Coney shocks, these really help with the feel. The Wilwood 6-piston disc brakes are really awesome on this car. And also these Hotchkis strut rods, these really help with the road feel as well. So a lot of good features on this car to bring it up to modern handling standards and braking standards.
So now you have a good idea of what RM19 is, kind of like you were at a car show and you saw this car sitting there, you've gotten to walk around it, you've gotten to look at all the cool things, but here at RestoMods.com we have the advantage of coming on a ride along with us. So buckle up and jump in with Esparza and take this thing for a spin.
What's up, guys? We're getting ready to go on a ride along. So we are about to start this thing up and go for a cruise. Thing starts so nice. I love getting in this interior. These Procar seats are great with the lumbar support. No hard cold starts on this thing. That modern Hemi just starts right up. You don't have to worry about it. You're not pumping the gas like a carburetor. You just get in, this thing idles super smooth and is ready to go. We will let it warm up for just a second here, like you should do in any car. But let's talk a little bit about some of the materials in here. SOS Customs knocked it out of the park. We have leather everywhere. Everything's wrapped and stitched and matched, and it just gives it a nice high-end feel. You know, these cars are notorious for having kind of a plasticky feeling interior when new, but when you wrap everything in leather, like these are the original door panels, they're just wrapped. And then they did a nice touch with the back seat where they kind of put the same design and like put some molded foam to give it a bucket, like a bucket seat look and feel in the back, which I really like. I think that's really cool. We got the touch screen stereo. I'm sorry, the touch screen stereo. We won't play with that too much because we just want to listen to that V8 soundtrack on this thing. So let's head out of the garage here. Slapstick shifter, really cool. A lot of really cool details on the slapstick where it all lights up, but it has an extra overdrive position, which is not original. They normally had just the 3-2-1. So the overdrive is a really cool touch. That's from Silver Sport. They think of everything on these conversions. So if you're looking to upgrade your car, they have a kit that will integrate all kinds of cool stuff like that. All right, here we go, out into the alley. This thing steers just so nice. Brakes feel good. It's got power brakes, power windows, power mirrors, just all kinds of the new modern comforts and amenities. Throttle response is good. It's like driving a new car. Let's get out onto the road here. This thing sits nice and low. I like, you know, the amount of tire to fender gap that it has, but it's not obnoxiously low. You got to be a little careful when you drive it, going in and out of steep driveways, but you don't have to baby it. You're not going to bottom out. So that's kind of nice because you can get into a situation like that really quick with a lowered car. I'll go across this intersection here. This car's not too loud either. You hear I'm not really like shouting and stuff. It's got the Borla exhaust, so it just has the right tone. It just is just as loud as you want it, but not obnoxious. when the speed limit's like 35, this car gets up there right away. So it's easy to just go too fast. The car is so smooth and everything that you kind of just want to go in this. This transmission does also have this little cool switch here. It's A and B mode. And what that does is you can program like a nice soft shift pattern for when you're just cruising around town. It'll make those shifts nice and just a normal shift. And then you can program like the B mode to have real firm shifts. So like a more sporty feel if you're gonna be out there, like, you know, you go on a canyon run with your buddies on the weekend, or say you take this thing out to like a drag race track or something, you can set up that firm shift pattern and you'll get like a lot more aggressive shift. All right, well, let's hop on the freeway. Just head south. You know, this suspension feels so planted. You know, we didn't take that turn too fast, but the car is just flat. I mean, just through the turns, it gives you a little bit of confidence, you know, and the brand new tires and everything. The Hotchkis stuff is just really good. It doesn't beat you up. It's not a super stiff ride, but it's real responsive, way different than what this car was originally. I've driven a few of these cars that were all original with low miles, and I'll tell you what, the steering just doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence. So plenty of pep. I'm like barely on the throttle, and here we are just at modern freeway traffic, merging, no problem, keeping up with traffic, no problem. We're not really stressing the car, so that's really nice. Like I said, this car feels really solid now with all the interior work. There's a lot of sound insulation in here too. There's some Dynamat in key areas, and all that kind of contributes to it. I mean, I got the window down. We're going 70 miles an hour right now, and it's not crazy. You know, it's totally tolerable. Over. There's not really any blind spots in this car either. It's got this huge C-pillar, which is like really killer in the design from the outside. Sometimes that can create a pretty big blind spot in the car, but with the mirrors and everything, it's not bad in this car. You can just kind of shoulder check and merge, and no big deal. Really nice. I don't know if you guys saw, but like even going down the freeway at 70, just one hand on the wheel, car tracks straight, doesn't do anything crazy. You're just driving like a normal car. So you can see we're about to hit kind of a big dip here, but this car doesn't really bottom out. It's got that low stance, but not too low. Nothing that's gonna be like annoying to drive all the time. We're about to hit a tunnel hill. We'll give it a little throttle blip and see how this thing sounds in the tunnel. Wow, sounds great. And you can do that with these giant Wilwood brakes. You know, you get into the throttle a little bit, you come up on a stop, no big deal. This thing stops right away. Not a ton of pedal effort because of the power brakes and those big 6-piston calipers. I don't think this car weighs too much. I don't have an official weight on it, but my guess is this car is just above 3,000 pounds. It's not a big car. It's a unibody car. So, you know, I don't think we have like a ton of weight. There's a fan there. You're gonna get that in this car. There's gonna be a lot of necks turning, thumbs ups, people liking the car. So better get ready for that. If you're the winner, you better be ready to have conversations with people. The number one thing I hear a lot, if you go to the gas station, it's immediately like, you're gonna hear like, what year is that? And you know, maybe somebody's uncle or cousin, or they knew somebody that had one. You get that a lot. So hopefully you're not shy. Plenty of get up and go. This thing does whatever you want it to do. I mean, you want to go 80 on the freeway, it'll do it like that. And as you can tell, like, you know, the speed limit, I think it's 65 here, but there's cars pulling away from me even at 80. So that's kind of the deal with modern traffic, is that it's going so fast these days that you're either going to be in the slow lane if you don't have the right gear setup in your car, or you're just going to be able to cruise comfortably like this and have a conversation with your friends. Get back over, head back to the shop here. Everything's nice on this car too. The temps stay nice and cool. It's got a big aluminum radiator with the electric cooling fan. So the original temperature gauge still functioning with the modern engine, but this thing rides right in the middle of the gauge all the time, almost no matter what you're doing. Just another advantage to having that modern fuel injection and an upgraded cooling system. Oil pressure is great. Alternator's fine. We are a little low on gas, so we'll probably stop and get some gas after this ride along. This thing doesn't get terrible gas mileage. It's not like if you had an original Hemi. Those things are like single digit sometimes in the gas mileage. I've never calculated the actual gas mileage on this car, but it wouldn't surprise me with the way that you can cruise this thing around if this car was in the 20 mile per gallon range. That really wouldn't surprise me, because although it's a big engine, a light car, and it's hard to stay out of that throttle pedal because it sounds so glorious, but if you drove it conservatively, you could probably get 20 miles per gallon, which, you know, in the muscle car world, nobody's really worried about that. It's kind of a miles per gallon thing, but it's nice to know that you can do that. I mean, if you wanted to put this car into daily use, say your regular car broke down or something, you wouldn't be thinking like, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to be spending, you know, quadruple or whatever on gas. And this area that our shop is in is kind of notorious. Wow, this guy is just coming in. We'll let him go. He's fully sideways. Thank you. We let him in, and he liked the car, so that's all good. But yeah, this area is known for having like kind of the worst roads here, and it doesn't really beat you up in this car. I've been in other modified cars where this road would this road would just beat you up, just rattle the fillings out of your teeth. But another fan there. It's always cool. You get a lot of people that appreciate the body lines of this car. The shape of this car is so reminiscent when the new Challengers came out. You know, this body style, not to say it was forgotten, but it wasn't at the forefront of people's minds because it was built so long ago and it kind of went away. But when the new Challenger came out, everyone started remembering, oh, that design came from somewhere, you know? So this is the original. This is the inspiration for that. And nobody does it better than the original, you know? Another decent sized dip there, no problem. You get people asking you to throw a rev at them all the time. That's what just happened. That guy on the bike said, hey, give it a little gas. No problem, this car will do it, so. We got Ken. Hey, I'm next. There's your typical dad joke for when you see someone washing their car. I'm next, right? All right, we're gonna go around the corner here. Get this car back in the shop. This like trench area, we always see like the car will fully articulate, and we'll see like how much, if we have any tire rub. This car seems to handle it no problem. Well, thank you for going on that ride along. That is my absolute favorite part about all these classic cars, is getting behind the wheel. Let them know how they can win this thing.
Yeah, put yourself in that driver's seat and get behind the wheel, and you'll be the one giving the ride-alongs. All you gotta do is head over to RestoMods.com, shop online, pick up stuff you'd buy anyways, but if you buy it from us, you're gonna get a chance to win this car and $20,000 in cash. You can also join the car club membership at RestoMods.com. Make sure you never miss out on a sweepstakes. As you know, at RestoMods.com, we give away a fully restored and modernized classic every 3 months. This is number 19 right here. We're looking for our 19th winner. Is it gonna be you?